Hello, everybody, and welcome to Asterix, the Mansion of the Gods. This movie originally came out in 2014 in most of Europe and later in English-speaking countries in 2015. From what I can tell, America got it through Netflix or something like that. This movie, as you can probably guess from the title, is based on the Asterix comics, which is a group of very popular comics here in Europe.
Created in France by
Alberto Derzo and René Goscinny.
Goscinny, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, they were created even though they were created at the end of the 50s and beginning of the 60s, they were some sort of satire of the period that France had to transition during World War II. And it reflects, using the historical period where Caius Julius Caesar, under the Republic of Rome, started conquering all the northern territories of Europe, including what is actually France right now, Gaul. Which was inhabited by a barbarian tribe of the Gauls, captained by a guy called Vercingetorix. The story normally goes that Vercingetorix eventually submitted himself to Julius Caesar after a series of very bloody battles, and eventually the entire country was conquered. Goscinny Uderzo dares challenge to say no, that only a single tiny spot in the northern peninsula of the France region still resisted. Why? Because they have a secret. Their local druid, basically magicians of the period of time, managed to craft a magic potion that gives super strength to the inhabitants of the village, which allows them to repel every single solitary assault that Caesar throws at them. And that's what the stories are basically all about.
Caesar trying to find conniving schemes to somehow take them down, but they always get thwarted, of course.
Heroes. So, of course, what better way to start our Asterix commentaries than with the one made in 2014?
That's also another thing of the French. For the people who don't know about the franchise and how it was transposed, several animated movies were made about these. It was a series of books at first, but then a series of movies were made. They're not that much, but they spanned between the 60s and the 90s. When there was a bit of a gap, they made another one in 2006, but I haven't seen it, that one. Then there was another gap, and then they made this in CGI with a new studio and new people around it.
It's a good segue, Teo, because before this animated film came out, there was this trend that I never understood of making most of the Asterix movies that came out in the 2000s being live action. And let's just say they were all terrible.
From what I've heard mixed reactions to them. Some people say they're good, some people say they're decent, others don't really care for them.
It's a huge kind of words for another day, Java, don't worry, we'll get to those eventually.
Monica Bellucci as Cleopatra.
Well, that
does sound fitting.
I will commend that was an amazing casting choice, but that doesn't say the movie on its own. So for now, let's just move on with this one, please.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'll just wait to
this
see those
movie...
movies anyway later on.
Yes. All right, this movie is based on the Mansion of the Gods book. It was written and directed by Alexandre Astier and Louis Clichy. Alexandre Astier, from what I've seen, he's famous in France for this TV show called Camelot, and spelled with K and two A's for some reason. I don't know why. But the point is, he has this show that's incredibly popular in France called Camelot.
Hey, Pedro, maybe it's one of those things that gets shown in David Cage games on the televisions.
No, it's live action from what I can tell.
All right.
The other writer and director, hold on, this is important. The other writer and director is Louis Clichy. Why is this guy important? He's a former Pixar animator. He was an animator on WALL-E and Up. And my guess is after working in Pixar and, honing his craft, he went back to France to make animated films for his country. So that's pretty cool.
All right, then. What you need to start before is the M6...
the Group 6 logo.
The Group 6 logo, basically.
Yes.
All right, then. Go ahead, Pedro.
3, 2, 1, click. And I'm also very happy to say that this is by far a much better comic book to CGI cartoon adaptation than the fucking Tintin film.
Yes. Well, in this case, we used proper 3D animation.
Not just that. It's two things. One, Alexandre Astier and Louis Clichy actually understand the freaking source material. Second,
one thing that I have to mention, at least for the movies, but the animated movies I see, the movies that I've seen previously, based on the Asterix comics, were kind of like dispersive. They had a lot of pointless filler moments that were not in the books, and they did not contribute to anything. Anyway,
That's kind of what happens when you're adaptating what's essentially comic book strips.
There you go. Just like in every single Asterix books, we start with this exact premise.
yeah, this narration that we're hearing right now is literally how every book starts.
I can't
Actually,
imagine.
no, we're not hearing anything, Pedro. Sorry.
Well,
Okay, sorry.
guys, I can't imagine why the French might have had anything against Italy at that time.
Sorry, I forgot that the subtitles are for the French dialogue.
That's the thing.
Yeah, they're close enough.
Caesar in history is remembered as an incredibly tactical genius and an imposing authority figure. The Asterix movie both demonize him and ridiculize him in a sense that they show him like he's supposed to, like similar to Raj Al Ghul in the Batman comics, Jova for context.
Yeah,
But at the same time, they find a way to show how miserable and sometimes stupid he actually is. Basically, it's satire at its finest.
Interesting thing about the English dub of this film. It's actually, well, again, the cast probably doesn't mean much of anything outside of the UK, but to a Brit like me, it's got quite the all-star cast. It's got Jack Whitehall, Nick Frost, Greg Davis, Catherine Tate.
Hey, I remember some
Harry
of those people
Enfield,
from
Dick
the
and Dom, Jim Broadbent.
It goes back to the typical mentality that localizers have, Dwebs, that, okay, it's an European property. How should we... Let's dub it into British English, since that's the European English.
Like, I mean, it's always weird, but yeah, that is what happens. Also, you know what's sad, Dwebs? A lot of people are familiar with some of those names. Here's the problem. That movie that a lot of people are familiar with is Monster Family. What's Monster Family? If you don't know, I bless your lucky stars.
Yeah.
Well,
logic.
for the most part,
Sorry.
you Americans probably know Jim Broadbent as that British guy who's in a lot of films, but you can't remember his name.
It's the same logic
There are some
with
people who remember Brosnan Pierce more from Mamma Mia than James Bond.
What was that film you said called, Jova?
Monster Family?
Oh, I just said was The Party for a second. That's an NES game.
Roll credits. Literally.
So yeah, we have to come up with a new plan to take down the Gauls.
In this case, Caesar is using a more passive approach, in a sense that instead of trying to take over the village by force, which has not succeeded in the slightest, he instead tried to basically build an estate near it.
And this is where you can tell one of the this is where you can tell one of the directors is a former Pixar animator, because this looks and feels exactly like a Pixar opening credit sequence.
Why, yes, I do remember the opening for Monsters Incorporated.
Yeah, this is this is so clearly Louis Clichy.
So yeah, I think we didn't mention the comics usually don't focus on the entirety of a village. A couple of times, yes, but their protagonist is the title mentioned Asterix, basically a small guy with an helmet with two wings, and Obelix, basically his best friend, which is a giant of a man who, by an accident with a magic potion, has permanent super strength, but he is not exactly super smart.
Basically, Dwebs, the gist of it is that you take a bit of the potion, you become super strength for like
a bit.
For like 15 minutes, something like that.
Although Asterix has the unique ability that the potion also gives him super speed as well.
Yeah, sometimes it does that. Yeah.
Well, it's actually part of it, Joe. But there are books where other characters take the potion and can also display super speed. It's just part of it. It just gives them superpowers, super abilities. That's
I know that. What I'm saying is, like, well, it seems to be most happening commonly with Asterix, whereas with most every other body,
that's because
Jova,
the spotlight is mostly on him. That's
the difference, Dwebs, is that Obelix.
Oh yes. So we start with these duo's favorite sport: hunting boars before eating them.
Yeah,
pretty much. Basically, whereas Asterix
whoever hunts dead animals.
Vultures do.
The primary difference, Debs, is that Obelix fell into a cauldron full of magic potion when he was a kid, and he drank all of it, and as a result of that massive ingestion, the effects are permanent in him.
Which is why it's a big rule to not give him any potion, because we
Yes.
don't want to see what
Hello.
any more would do. Anyway,
Well, there
where's
is a book that tells us what would happen.
So
but,
which one's Asterix?
the
The
smaller
small
one?
one.
The small one.
Basically, Dwebs, whereas Asterix is small, but also the faster and more clever one, Obelix is pretty much the tower of power, but not the quickest thinker. I mean, he's not completely brain dumb. He can have some smart moments, but he's kind of first and foremost thinking about
Poor
food.
boar.
By the way, my TV isn't.
No, don't worry.
Fine.
There we go.
Love the score as well. So
Who
yeah,
was the
as
composer? Let me check.
some French guy.
Romney.
But yeah, like
It's mine, damn it.
Okay, a head
here's the
cannon.
first. Aside from the already really good characterization, like immediately, this is such a much better CGI adaptation than the Tintin movie because they did such a fantastic job in transitioning Alberto Derzo's art style into 3D.
It's
Like,
already
this
cost 31 million euros.
is a great example of how do the best with what you got.
I wonder where that rope goes.
Remind me again,
well,
Dwips,
well.
how much did the Tintin movie cost?
Too much.
Let me
Well, aside from the obvious two.
let me see.
It was mostly because of the mocap and everything. Here is
Yeah.
just straightforward 3D animation. And I think it works for the better because this is a case where the 3D animation is extremely similar to the original art style, so it's gonna take a lot before it will actually age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Secret of the Unicorn cost $135 million.
Yeah.
And yet this movie looks more appealing to the eye. Go
To be
figure.
Oh.
Like a quarter of a budget.
Yeah. See, here's the thing with the Tintin movie. That was made back in the day when people were still a bit iffy with how exactly to do 3D art. Like, they didn't have exactly all, the technology they have and whatnot. So one of the
2011?
easier ways to do 3D
I don't know,
animation...
Joe,
Hold
but
on, let me
Pixar
finish.
never had troubles. Why did others have?
Because you wondered.
Well, let me finish. Also, to be fair, looking back at some Pixar films, well, for one thing, Pixar was more a master of it. Tintin, though, was trying to do something that some people were doing with motion capture. And to be fair, Pedro, even Pixar did use some mocap. Now, I mean, I honestly think the Tintin movie looks fine, but I guess that's up to subjective nature.
It's more of a uncanny valley kind of thing, but I get what you mean, Trevor. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Despite being a village, the villagers do not get along all the time.
They argue for the most petty and stupid of
One
reasons.
of them,
Like,
for example,
So if someone steps on someone's toe, they have a big.
oh,
Yes.
it's even better, Dwibs. The running gag is that the fisherman usually sells fish that is actually not fresh, and whoever tries to contradict
yeah, and
him
that's exactly
actually
what's
gets
going on
it.
right now.
There you go.
They literally just did like a joke that's clear for the fans. Like, so what's going on? Oh, the fish is not fresh again. Like, that's such a clear
And
joke
that's
for the
the
fans.
druid. There you go. The one
Which
responsible
is
for
interesting. It's interesting I brought Nick Frost up because
He was
He
in
was
the
in-
Tintin movie, yeah.
he was in both this and Tintin.
Well,
Mhm.
Tintin is awfully British now, ain't it?
Ah,
It's the same logic with Lautrec, French, British. Let's dub it in British English because that's
Jesus.
Europe. That's the English that's speaking in Europe and shit.
and that's the Roman encampment just outside the village, basically.
One of the four. There's four,
Yeah.
but yeah. So yeah, the poor architect trying to build the mansion of the gods got beaten up. So
Obviously. Give
I
us
love, I love this one.
Well, I'll give him that. That's actually a smart move to suspend it.
Yeah. Basically, another thing important is that every single name is a pun of something, but it's also tied to the language. For example, the Roman names usually ends in us instead us or something, because that's how they were the Latin language you call people's names back then, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait
Oh, I
for
love
the
this one here.
signal.
Like, yeah. All right. So what is the signal?
So they're misinterpreting the signal.
Hold on. You'll see. Waiting for the signal. Hold on.
Quiet, man. You'll ruin.
Basically, the Romans are incredibly afraid of the Gauls, so they're trying their best not to wake them up because otherwise, oh
Oops.
shit!
Yeah, that's not going to wake them up.
Totally.
Yeah, you did.
Oh yeah, now we can hear you, Dweebs.
Unfortunately, the iTunes version has no subtitles at all.
Oh boy.
So whenever they leave, they play the Charlie Brown adult theme.
Well, that was a bust.
Well,
the
again,
gallbladder.
Well, that failed.
again, it's practical thinking on the Romans' end. Like, I mean, even when they're ready for battle, they can't beat the Gauls. The last thing they want is to try and beat the Gauls now.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention, Obelix has a pet dog.
I think its name is Ibelix.
I forgot it. My country calls it in a completely different name, so I don't know what's the English name. Pedro?
The English name for what? Sorry.
For the Obelix dog.
Dogmatix.
Dogmatix.
There we go.
Dogmatix.
There you go.
You know, I'm watching. I gotta say, this film looks really great in high definition.
It
Oh
does.
yeah, absolutely.
Again, one of the directors is a
similar to,
Pixar
for
animator.
example,
Was a Pixar animator, and it shows.
It's similar to a video game done with a cell shading style, thanks to the particularity of the art style and the technique. It's a thing that can bypass the CGI, the CGI in itself, and can maintain its quality over time.
Okay, here we go. Yep.
Nope.
The psycho architect. That'll be a nice one for the history books.
The Psycho Architect.
Yeah, you are slave. You're supposed to.
What, play down another tree?
Well,
Yeah,
remember,
remember.
Grips, that lifting the arm is the signal. Remember?
Yeah. They need to also remember the reason why they need to deforest is for making.
They
way for
need a
construction.
better, less likely to misinterpret signal.
There we go.
Well,
Druid.
Whoa!
seeds
Oh my
pretty
god!
fast.
Oh my god! Did they get those seeds from Fern Gully Forest or something?
Don't bother. Okay.
But hey,
How many?
Gotta need a one.
look at the bright side. At least you'll be getting some wood from this.
Yeah, but what would they use it for? What would they use it for?
Building houses?
Well, remember, Grips,
Burning.
the plan. The
Look.
plan is to take down all of this entire forest so they can build a mansion. The
It's like-
problem is,
It's like the slave
Yeah.
said, guys. Look on the bright side of this. Look on the bright side.
you know, for
Okay,
slaves.
now you're being a bit self-indulgent there. Although I gotta
Yeah,
say,
how
you got
many-
high morale for slaves.
Yeah.
No, don't.
No.
So
Wow,
it's
you made a tree house.
so
Yes.
okay. Apparently, swallowing it will cause it to grow.
So that's Jim Broadbent.
As Caesar, I think. Yeah.
You're telling me that building a hotel near the Gauls, who have been the bane of our existence, was actually hard? Well, I, for one, am shocked. That's actually a good point.
Such a waste of fruit.
So yeah, Jim Broadbent as Julius Caesar. That's
Well, Dweebs, considering how many actors played the role of Caesar in media in general, you know.
Yeah.
now a Roman gladiator.
The Colosseum, yes.
Yes. One thing that I love, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this, Dwebs, as well. They satirize the Roman Colosseum fights as if it's professional wrestling. So basically, they take a professional wrestling type of approach to it. So that's pretty.
similar to
It's
what
funny
it was.
because
It was
that's where
just,
wrestling
well,
kinda
not
started.
realistic.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
where
more
wrestling
realistic.
itself originated from.
Yeah.
Although, funny, I don't remember people wearing this kind of armor. Hey, Pedro, speaking of.
Oh, there you go. See,
speaking of-
notice the themselves talking to each other because this is all fixed in this
Yeah.
cartoon.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Hey, Pedro, speaking of Roman gladiators,
Yeah.
you know Ric Flair, right?
Yeah.
Well, during the early 90s, when the company he was in at the time,
Oh
WCW,
boy.
was run by a complete moron, the owner wanted to have Ric Flair completely change his gimmick into a Roman gladiator named Spartacus.
Oh, he's
Needless to-
disappointed they
needless
didn't
to
get
say,
to kill
he left
him.
not long after.
Fucking
That-
ads. Can we just
that's
keep
like
to the next
probably-
fight?
That's like the equivalent of taking away the Rock's gimmick and making him into a.
Don't you just
Barman, I
hate it, Dweebs? You're watching a wrestling match and you know, in the middle they do some ads for a place to go in vacation.
The WWE, all TV wrestling companies do this.
Yeah.
They have
This
they're
is
in the middle of a TV. It doesn't apply to pay-per-view or WWE
Vina
network
Domus.
shows, but on TV, in the middle of a match, they go to an advert break. Oh, there was one time where they went to an advert break, and when they came back, the match was already over.
So yeah, basically we're going to do a little raft, and whoever gets the right number gets to live at the mansion of the gods.
Of course, the
Of
Roman
course,
number.
Roman numerals.
Caesar is so invested in this.
And the winner is me.
Yes.
2.
There you go. Just give it to another.
I love how in the subtitles, the way they pronounce it, it looks like America. But yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
so invested.
I wonder, was Caesar this passionate in real life?
Depends
You
on
mean-
the
okay,
scenario.
Keep in mind, this is taking it on some of his last year of his life where he stopped conquering things, and he was more onto sedentary things, and he kind of was a bit obsessed in visiting Cleopatra in Egypt, so...
Remember, under Julius Caesar, there was like 1 year of actual world peace. Well, as far
Yeah.
as Rome was concerned.
I mean, he acquired this by massive slaughter, but there was it.
And then wouldn't it figure he got axed by his own flesh and blood?
Yeah, that was also because of the massive political undertones under it, but that's a huge topic for another time, Jova.
So this is Centurion, I take it?
Yeah. Basically, with
Yeah,
Centurions,
I recognize. Well, as a Brit, I recognize Greg Davis's voice.
they can't, I mean, in case you need some minor of the military, Centurion kind of like count as local camps commanders.
I guess. So who's this guy? The one with the short purple hair?
The architect, you mean?
no,
Yeah, the short
Wow.
one with purple hair.
Let me check.
So yeah, what to do?
Yeah, that's nice. They actually care for the slaves.
A little thrashing.
Oh, that's no fun.
Dweebs, the architect is voiced by Richard Ian Cox.
Richard Ian Cox.
Apparently,
Oh, this one.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Squalor and the Hypothenuses.
He was Goku in the ocean dub
The Blue
of
Danube.
Dragon Ball Z Kai.
Let's
Yes,
play rock, paper, scissors in the air.
it's artistic, Dweebs.
Whee! Ow. Ouch.
Oh well.
That was just a little fight.
A little fight, eh?
All right, time to free the slaves.
Yeah, good job you didn't come in a Trojan horse.
Yeah, that would have been too obvious.
Trova, do you have any input on this?
Kanye West, please go away. But, okay. I mean, running away would actually make you free unless you just get subjugated to another power.
That's also another thing, Jova. One of the things similar to the problem that I had with the Tintin comics they had, things were made in another time, and on all tones they had elements on it that nowadays they wouldn't be that considering that politically correct. Particularly, black peoples are portrayed similar to this, but much worse, basically.
Yeah.
So, actually, you guys mentioned British dubs of French animated movies. This isn't the first time we've done that. We did this with the Magic Roundabout film.
Oh, yeah.
God.
Wait, Magic Roundabout. You don't mean...
T-O. We mean the actual Magic Roundabout.
The UK
film,
one, okay.
Not the butchered Dougal version.
Because...
Oh, that!
Anyway, time for some Syndicate.
So basically, we'll actually be proper workers and not slaves.
Yep.
More. How many? Is this all going to end with there being no forest left?
Unfortunately, it looks like the plan may have backfired, giving the slaves the potion.
Yeah, this is one of the few occasions where the village plan actually backfires on them.
See,
it's actually a rare occasion.
See, the flaw here was that the slaves actually fought outside the box of just freedom. Like, hey!
Yeah, and Asterix and Obelix did not knew about their background, and we just assumed they wanted to get free.
Well, hey, they managed to get that building built in such a short amount of time.
This is similar to what happens in the climax of Asterix and Cleopatra, basically.
I wonder this is how they made our roads here in the UK. The Romans drunk a bunch of drunk the potion, and that's how they made the roads so efficiently and quickly.
Well, now.
Welcome to the mansion of the god.
I've seen bigger.
Hang on, if this is supposed to be a mansion of the gods, shouldn't this thing be built up into outer space?
Well, Dwibs, this is considered the biggest there is.
Roman architecture was not thinking on a vertical axis.
They were thinking more horizontal.
Yes. Like their aqueduct. Not amused.
Nick, I don't think.
Okay, so basically, the Gauls are basically gonna beat the crap out of the Romans.
That's also another recurring gag. Do not let the bard actually sing of the village because it's bad for everyone.
Like that bard is horrible.
Is this how the Roman Empire fell? They lost to these guys?
Well, these guys have a magical potion.
I wish it was that simple, Dweebs.
Alright, here we
go.
go.
No, don't. You'll destroy more of your forests than they did.
No, we're running through it neatly.
Yes. It's like the horse in Breath of the Wild. Oh no!
No!
Oh, well, it seems they're a bit
Oh.
too late.
Yeah.
Looks like the guests have already arrived.
And
And since we're civilians, it's
unfortunately,
not the best thing to demolish the building right now.
Are you sure this is? Are you sure this is meant to be a hotel, or it looks like they're queuing as if it's a museum?
It's a hotel.
well,
wait.
dibs. This is ancient Rome, so of course it'll look like a museum. Ooh.
True.
Ow.
No.
Oh.
Sorry, this is operating. This is operating on the Last Airbender movie logic. You're not allowed to hurt others.
Thought that, like, again, this is a really great moment, a great character moment for the Gauls, and another demonstration that these filmmakers understand the source material. That the Gauls are violent and brash and all that stuff, but they will not harm innocent people.
Yeah.
When did
And
you
at the
say this
same
film came out
And at the
originally?
same time,
2014.
and at the same time, violence is not always the answer. That's also
Because
what the
the
Sorry, go ahead.
because the English dub was released here in the UK in August of 2016.
Wow, you guys got it late.
A bit like yeah.
So yeah,
I complain about the delay in Disney animated films.
Oh yeah, have you
This
guys got
family-
Incredibles 2 yet?
So yeah, this
Next
family,
week.
Yes.
family that got the thing with number 2, this is a new subplot that was added into the movie that was not in the book. That guy right there, the father of the family, his name is Anonymous. Get it? Anonymous. Ha 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 ha. And he's actually a mosaic builder, so he's actually complaining there that mosaic is badly made and shit. So yeah, basically because there was a misunderstanding with his passage, with his entry thingy, they're out of it. They don't have any place to stay now.
Hey, yeah. Unfortunately, he wasn't allowed to refuse earlier because if he'd refused, he'd have been fed to the lions.
Yes.
Which is kind of realistic because back in those days, you could get sent to the lions for some of the most petty things.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Ah, crap. And we no, don't you'll hit the mansion.
Oh boy, the kid thinks Obelix is Hercules. You
Yeah.
just had to say it.
And yes, the kid is called Mysterious. Topical. Yeah.
Wow, very topical.
Yep.
Well, this was recorded. Well, this came out in English in the middle of 2016. So
Hold on,
Yeah.
didn't America get it on Netflix a bit earlier than
I
2016?
think so.
2015.
Huh, how
Must have-
about
we
that?
must- we
So
must have-
even though we didn't get a physical release, we still got it earlier than the UK.
we must have wanted this film to come out in cinemas.
Wait.
'cause-
Hold on, wait. British cast, yet this comes to America before UK. Huh.
Bit odd.
Again, when's Incredibles 2?
Chicken.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. The chief of the village is completely whipped towards his wife.
Yeah.
Well, he knows you best treat your spouse well.
Yeah, she's the one who has the pants.
Yeah,
over
she wears the pants in the family, but
So, we're going to maybe just have to allow these Romans to
Yeah,
stay.
there you go. That was what I was mentioning before. The character of Asterix himself is also an embodiment of the whole strength does not resolve anything, because despite also using the magic potion and everything, he's basically the smartest of the village. He's usually the one who comes up with actually the plans that they need to do to counter the Romans.
And apparently he's naturally the fastest without the potion.
But as a result of that, his basically negative trait is that a lot of time he's actually overconfident, and a couple of times his plans actually backfire because of it. So basically, he's actually a very complete character when you get down to it.
And it is actually nice seeing the Gauls react themselves to Roman civilians. Like, well, often we always see the Romans talk about, oh,
Against
those
the
dirty
soldiers,
Gauls
yeah.
or whatnot. But now it's interesting to see the Gauls be the ones actually kind of being, well, the Romans. Like, hey, what a role reversal. Instead, it's the Gauls now making the witty plan to try and expel the Romans.
Yep.
So yeah, now their new plan is to try to scare off the Roman civilians back to Rome.
Or basically just harass
And
them.
they're going to do that by making it rain.
Rain.
Again,
Unfortunately, though, the Romans
druid-
did like
and,
that.
and,
because-
and their logic is, well, still better than in Rome. Ha 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 ha.
Like,
Warning.
Like,
was that? Is this? Was that guy they walked past? Was that like a? Was that like a CGI recreation of one of the authors of the series or something? Like how
No.
Tintin had Fergie
No,
all the
no,
time?
don't worry.
And wouldn't it
We don't get usually. Well, unlike with Tintin, Goscinny and Uderzo did not create cameos for himself. But I can tell you, one of the comics actually, since it's set in Belgium, actually has Thompson and Thompson as a cameo.
So, here's the thing for the fish guy. Now he actually has a Newtown sucker to actually, well, you know, take advantage of because they're not familiar with the
Who's this
whole
woman?
fish gag.
his
His
wife.
wife. Yeah.
Now, what's her name? I mean,
Oh, I don't remember. There are a lot.
Does she even have a name? I don't even
I
remember.
think so, but I just don't remember because she doesn't show up that much.
No,
Basically,
she's
the-
a very
goody.
minor character.
There's also another thing, Dweebs. Again, like I said, a lot of characters got specific name changes for the English languages, so I need to get adjusted to that as well.
again, the rain
Man.
trick didn't work earlier.
Not just that. Not just that. So wait a minute. It's the rain is worse than in the rain is still better than in Rome. The noise that Obelix was making is still better than Rome. Seriously, is Rome the second coming of hell or something?
Allow
What the
me-
hell?
Allow me to analyze the situation. The Romans used agenda-making strategy, which was basically a psychological effect used by the advertisement of the Colosseum, where they pretty much made Rome out to be one of the worst places possible. It's strategic.
Tio,
It's
Yes,
strategic.
Dweebs.
have you ever been Rome, Tio?
A couple of times, but I can tell you again, it's only for the sake of satire that they do the whole Rome is
Rome
bad
is shitty.
here. But it's also for the case of
Oh,
this in
here we go
particular.
now. So yeah, now it's they make everything smell like shit.
Come on, you've got noses big enough. Come on, at least comment on the smell.
Also, what's with this little thing here?
It's a
Them
Bond
carrying
movie,
stuff
so-
backwards and forwards.
That's because Anonymous is trying his best to, to
Fill
work
out
up
the
all the
paperwork.
all
At
the
the same
bureaucracy
time, yeah.
so that he can
Which
finally go
itself
into the
is a
mansion.
reference to the 12th task of Asterix.
And meanwhile, the Roman civilians are stopping in the Gaul village for, well, supplies and whatnot.
Shopping, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, even the Gauls are actually, getting profits from it. This is the problem. This is exactly this side effect in particular, not necessarily because of the buildings next to it, but the effect that the barbarian tribes managed to have commerce with the Romans was an actual passive tactic of conquest that the Romans used, basically integrating them passively.
Which kind of
Which is
makes
also another thing
sense.
that they did. The lucky families that did not were subjected to slavery or were just killed were actually properly integrated in considering, unofficial Roman citizen, in a sense that they were allowed to live in their region and considering Roman citizen and still considering their own, just they were under Rome's foot, basically. If you read the Bible, that's exactly what happens to the Hebrews in Israel back then. I know, right? All right.
Wow, it's that easy.
Apparently.
You just skip a few things, but
Oh, but all of those. Yeah, true.
yeah, I mean,
Oh
you do
yeah, bit topical here because that's kind of what happened to some slaves after the Civil War ended. Like, sure, you were free to go, but you were pretty much left with pretty much no career options whatsoever. So, yes, passive way of keeping the slaves.
Yeah.
So there you go. Thanks to trickery, thanks to the trickery, they've been.
Dang.
Ha 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 ha.
Yep. That's another thing. Politics in Rome were so well in order to
Cutthroats.
maintain such a big series of territories. The politics needed to be extremely rigid, and even then they
So,
failed multiple times.
I guess the politics here are the kind where if you disagree, you get your head cut off or something.
It's not quite that
Kinda.
simple, Dwibs. Let me put it like this. You disagree? Well, okay, it's perfectly fine. Now allow me to put you through a systematic trial of solutions, which will then lead to you getting your head chopped off. Essentially that. It's like, basically, think of it like this. We'll kill them with niceness, or let them eat cake.
It was still a civilization. You have to understand, Weaves. The Roman civilization was still a civilization, but in a lot of ways it was equally barbaric as the tribes that surrounded it.
They just wanted to try and look more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. A civilization that fed people to lions on a regular basis somehow managed to make themselves look sophisticated by comparison.
Well, Jova, there's a reason also why they fell eventually.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave it. Bye.
Thank you.
Antiquities.
Ironically enough, this is kind of what happens also in Mother 3. You get a village where starts very peaceful and everything, but then the eventual concept of commerce is introduced and everything goes to shit.
So here's an ironic thing. Now Asterix is the odd man out because everyone else is actually kind of okay with their
okay with
Roman
it. Yeah.
neighbors. I mean, granted, okay, we know technically there's a plan going on, but otherwise the Romans haven't done anything wrong yet. That is technically competition in the business marketing, but he may have a point.
You're going to the mansion?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will be honest, I won't blame them. I mean, there's two options: a nice, newly built, modern by this time standards mansion, or living in a village where,
No, you don't.
or living in a
thank
village
you.
where they have a fight over like someone who doesn't breathe properly.
So there you go. The bard is since nobody here appreciates his quote-unquote
Oh my god!
talent.
I just realized, why didn't they try using the bard to get people out? Like, come on.
So
That's
Jova,
exactly the plan right now.
Also, that's also that thing. But Jova, that's actually the plot point of another book eventually.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised they didn't come up with that idea. Unless they're thinking even that would be too cruel.
Hello.
There you go. Basically, the bard is tired of the Gauls in the village never appreciating his quote-unquote talents.
Yeah.
Again, I don't blame them for leaving the village. Their citizens are awful.
Oh, really? Let's see if the
Romans are better.
Let's see if their treatment of the bard was warranted or not. Webs in a moment.
I do like the deconstruction that the big, taller, bulky guys are actually the smarter ones than the shorter, lanky guy on the Roman side.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, the senator here has a point, actually. Let them come in.
No room? So what? They're gonna have to live in a. They have to live in a.
Well,
manger?
Dweebs, take a wild guess who has to go away.
I
So what,
mean,
they're gonna have to live in a barn or
let's
something.
well,
Poor,
Dweebs,
poor anonymous.
Dweebs, we need a room that is nice and refurbished and has not been slept in yet. You are the lucky winner.
Well, hey,
This
it looks
that
it
poor
looks
family just can't catch a break, can they?
Nope.
Hey, at least the room they're in looks nice, whereas it's the reception.
Cultural diversity, Obelix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About that. Hey, the Germans also like those kinds of birds
Caesar,
too.
sometimes you need to sleep for. Come on. Yeah.
Maybe that's exactly it. Maybe maybe he took inspiration from Caesar. Oh wait, Caesar accomplished a lot by not sleeping. Fine, I'll not sleep either.
Again, sleeping is overrated.
Down 20%, huh?
Uh,
Alright, what does that sign say there?
oh boy.
They're giving away rooms for free?
But
That's
remember,
Gauls,
that's
specifically.
That's exactly what the plan is, so that way everyone will eventually leave the village.
And they'll be Roman citizens eventually.
Yep. Again, passive conquest. This is one of the closest moments where Caesar comes this close to win.
I love the irony that it's actually not even directly his original plan. It's just about of people underneath him actually
But again,
getting smart.
I don't know. I wouldn't want this group of people. I wouldn't want this volatile group of people living in my newly built luxury hotel. They'll probably wreck it just as fast as it was built.
Well, Dibs, let's think about
Oh boy,
it.
here
Would
we
you
go.
want these people actively trying? Or would you actually want them on your side?
Yeah, but apparently they even have to actively try and have a brawl. They have one over anything.
all right, so yeah, time for the bard to give a concert to these sophisticated Romans who are clearly much more appreciative of his talents, right?
And using the
wonder-
potion.
And I absolutely love the way Clichy and Astier handle this. Yeah. Just like Asterix, Obelix, and Panoramix, we don't hear it. That way, the viewer gets to imagine just how bad it is.
Evacuate! Evacuate!
Okay, what was the implications with the senator and that slave in bed?
I mean, it would be understandable if they intentionally made someone sing badly for the sake of getting that point across. But this
It's
is
a
even
lot
better
more
if you ask me.
fun
They
imagining
literally,
it in this case.
yeah, like they literally invite the audience to imagine for themselves. Oh, there you
Never
go.
mind.
That's a little taste, just to
Ah.
give you an idea.
That was a little... Okay, I think we've had them suffer enough.
Always a fish.
Anyway, in case you're
Oh,
wondering, the bard
crud.
is voiced by Alan Marriott.
Alan Murray. I can't say I've heard of him, but let me check.
He
his
is a
stuff.
voice actor in general.
Yeah, he's a Canadian voice actor. If they're not British celebrities, they're Canadian voice actors. Scott McNeil's in this as well.
Oh, he voiced Akira in the original Devilman run.
Wait, Scott McNeil? I've heard that name before.
No, not Scott McNeil. Alan Marriott.
Yeah.
Basically, Joba, like I just said, if there's a mix of British celebrities and Canadian voice actors.
Scott McNeil, he's like one of the main recurring actors in those Good Time films.
Oh, he worked on
In
those.
fact, that's it's a bit more common than you'd think. Having a combination of British and Canadian voices. I guess that's because we're both in the Commonwealth.
So,
I guess.
Asterix, what are you thinking?
He's getting rid of the. Aw, he destroyed a perfectly good treehouse.
He just needed some time to vent.
Huh. French
Oh
song.
no, no, it's Italian.
Italian?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, it was in Rome. I thought it was in Rome, so.
but it's complete. But it doesn't make any sense.
Eh? Well,
Basically,
deal.
this is well. That's the thing, Jova. This is a song about. Well, that's the thing you need to know, Jova. Songs in Italy usually are about two things: love, and friendship. Well, when it comes to positivity.
What
things.
kind of friendship we talking about?
Well, no, standard friendship. Think of
Okay.
anime opening friendship.
Okay.
In this case, no, it's instead about the love, about basically, I want you near me. That's
Well-
basically what the song is telling.
Well, don't
So,
you see,
I don't know
Tio?
why they chose this one for this.
Don't you see, Tio? It's the perfect advertising music. You'll love our new hotel. You'll love being a Roman citizen. You will love each other, or we will see to it that you love being alive.
It's not even the first time it happened. Also, the Asterix and Cleopatra live-action movie had one.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah.
That's cheating and you know it.
Yeah, totally.
Of course. Yeah.
That's a thing also. Oh, and the slaves are back to where they pretty much
Well,
were.
yeah, they're basically he was so successful they needed to expand the complex. So.
Which means the Gaul village is pretty much easy pickings.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I guess Germany really picked up a thing from Rome.
As you know.
You know, maybe we should save the monologue of victory after you've bulldozed the village. Just saying, Julius.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the last step of the plan, actually. And in its place, another Colosseum.
Really? Why don't you just make a pyramid to impress Cleopatra instead?
Well, that's the thing, Jova. Colosseum means it's another sport, which means they attract even more people. Which actually it worked. The Colosseum was not in Rome is not the only one.
Yeah.
There were several scattered around the rest of the Roman territory.
Kind of genius, actually. He starts off the ploy by making Rome seem as terrible as possible to the public, so that of course they'll be desperate to move elsewhere, and then he's essentially gonna make it Rome, but the poor civilians will be none the wiser. Oh, right.
boy.
Obelisk has not
Yeah,
eaten.
that's also another thing. If it doesn't eat if it doesn't eat regularly, Obelix starts to go a bit haywire.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, oh yeah. Asterix Goes
the-
to
it-
America
it's
had
the-
a field day with that.
It's the classic joke of the fat guy who's always hungry.
Well, to their credit,
Keep in mind these books were made in a much more ancient time, back when this joke wasn't a cliche.
Well, I
eh,
don't think
look,
it's
look,
even
look.
that bad.
Honestly, the joke itself is not inherently bad. I mean, I've seen plenty of people who can still actually do it good. And to the movie's credit, it's not like he immediately, was starving or whatnot. Like, it took a while. It seems that hunting is a bit rough, though, ever since, well, the Romans are kind of
Yeah.
Well,
hogging
obviously,
the
we
food.
Without the
scared off
forest, they
yeah.
scared off the wildlife. Yeah.
And the Romans have pretty much been getting
Oh,
fish to
boy.
the perverts in their own fountain. Speaking of which...
Oh, I love this one. Your soldiers.
So what
We're
have I
trained
missed?
to be determined.
Guys, what have I missed?
The Romans are about to raise the hill.
The soldiers are on strike apparently.
What?
Yeah. Basically,
Also, I think I recognize that.
basically,
Legionaries.
Basically,
So, hang on,
Dwibs, the Roman soldiers are like, yeah, we don't want to take any chances because as long as the druid's still around, they can make some magic potion.
This is a
magic
thing.
potion can be quite devastating.
But from what I heard, a Roman who refuses to follow their orders is like, I don't know, forced to be in like a Roman gladiator match.
Here's the thing,
Hey,
though, Dwibs,
yeah.
the entire army is rebelling. Like, if it were, say, the minority...
Yeah. You can't just throw the entire army in there.
Well, I don't know. There's been quite a few political leaders. Haven't there been quite a few political leaders in the past who fire like their entire cabinet or something?
That stuff has to be planned strategically. Also, I gotta give props to the Mooks that they're incredibly paranoid, but for good reason. Like, they don't want any last-minute upsets with the magic potion, which tends to kind of be their downfall more often than not.
Hey guys, here's an idea.
What?
Why not try and steal some of that magic potion for yourselves?
They have tried it. They have tried that in different. There's various books where they try doing something akin to that, and it always
It
fails
helps the
somehow.
fact that Getafix is the only one who knows the secret about it.
It's also this is basically the spirit of the source material. Because even though these books were made for kids, the humor in it is very political and very adult.
I think
Yeah.
what really does help this film in particular, though, is like, well, they actually do have the characters not be stupid. Like, the characters do point out solutions and whatnot. Heck, like I said, even the Mooks raise good points like, maybe we should make sure they don't have any magic potion whatsoever. And, it kind of shows that they've learned from past ones. Heck, even Caesar himself is actually being somewhat humble in not trying to, alter stuff. He's like saying, hey, you know what, fine, let things go their natural course. I'll just throw in the Colosseum to sweeten the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Oh,
So that kid's sending that out as like a call for help.
Yeah. Like, he never leaves anywhere without it, so they gotta know something's up.
Hi, for a mid-low budget, I gotta say, for a mid-low budget CGI film, the water doesn't look half bad actually.
I think
Yeah.
what helps is like, well, here they definitely know where to cut corners and where not to cut corners.
yeah, I can tell that as well.
See, that is another thing that this movie has an advantage over 2009 stuff. Is like, see, when it came to CGI back then, people would blow their budgets in ways that would sort of force them to be weakened in other ways. This movie definitely does know what it needs to actually animate high def and what it can afford to leave looking not so high def.
It also helps that this movie is not really focused on. Like, this is not a very.
It's a movie that's trying to not be realistic either.
There's no eye candy of sorts. Like, there's no action scenes, at least not big ones. There's no, big moments that require something, the visuals to be nice. It's a very character-driven movie. So as a result,
I would argue, Pedro, that the animation is still nice on a consistent.
Oh no, it is, Theo. But even the moments where they do cut corners, you don't really notice it because this is such a character-driven movie that you're just focused on. I love this joke here. This is a great joke here. We're about to see. So yeah, Obelix is fucking starving.
And
wait, that's not. Oh wait, it's not yet. No, I'm getting ahead of myself.
And they're still.
No, never mind. It is now. Actually, there you go. It's still negotiating.
What are their terms for fighting?
I would argue that this
They
is
want
kind
payment. They want
that's the thing.
raise.
Is this kind of a parallel, I think, to the
Hold on, Tim.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
There you go.
Basically, the Mooks. Finally, the Mooks are arguing just how much it's worth to actually go up against, Obelix of all people.
Oh. Pokemon.
No, don't.
He's rehearsing for a speech, I take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, one of the leaders of their mortal enemies has kind of taken himself out of the equation by not eating.
Well, they couldn't predict that.
Is it, okay, I might have missed that scene. Is he on hunger strike?
Basically,
no,
again,
but,
okay.
He hasn't managed to hunt enough and eat enough recently, so basically starving.
Because remember, they're taking out all the trees, which means it scared off all the wildlife. So now he has no prey to hunt, basically.
Not just that, but any prey that would have been around, the Romans are kind of hogging.
Yeah.
So basically, this is the big night before Caesar arrives. Oh yeah, I was about to say, that legionary from before, he sounded kind of like Benjamin Diskin, I think it's called.
Huh.
Diskin.
Benjamin Diskin. Number 1 from Kids Next Door.
Oh, yeah. Wait, he's British?
I don't know.
No, he's probably Canadian.
I thought he was American, actually.
Well, I may just be wrong, Joe, I remember.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I don't see a Ben Diskin here.
Alright then. Poor Anonymous.
Oh no, he's American actually.
I thought so.
Boy, he just does most of the voice acting.
Yeah, maybe we should go to the other end of the river.
Guys, Olympus may be the other one. I know, right?
You know,
Yes, Livza?
you know one thing we could do at some point?
What?
Watch a film do a commentary of a film, but have it be in all our native languages.
We did it already, Waves, the 2002 Pinocchio.
I think he means all of our native languages.
No, I mean like me and Jova watch it in English, Pedro watches it in Portuguese, and you Italian, Tio.
I have no idea
whatever,
what
dude.
flavor of African I'd even watch it in.
Swahili?
Depends on my
let's reserve
ancestry.
it for another time, Waves.
Anyway.
Yep.
All right. I guess now it's finally time to take
Well,
over,
that's the
since
thing. At this point, is overkill. Come on.
Asterix is the only one left.
Well, so yeah, they still gotta declare war.
And yeah,
Oh.
he doesn't have any potion left.
A well-aimed shot kind of drained it.
We forgot the sorry.
Makes me wonder, why did the Romans actually wake up the Gauls for this? Like, maybe didn't they realize that the Gauls might... Oh,
They
I don't know.
thought
on
they
on
were
second thoughts.
indoctrinated enough. Alright.
There you go. Now he's bluffing.
Yeah.
Time to go Phoenix Wright. This.
So they finally, I think they finally sorted out their little industrial dispute.
Yes, because Obelix is captured, so as far as they're concerned, they should not.
You know, he's trying to simulate that little physical manifestation of the potion taking effect.
Probably one of those questions. Wait, isn't there supposed to be lightning coming out of him?
Actually, yeah. We're about
Yeah.
to get that. It's-
Oops. You know, this is one of the backfirings of having mooks that are way smarter than the normal mooks are, when they overthink this stuff. You know, that actually is a nice touch. Not having mooks that are, you know, just simply dumb. It's mooks that are, well, too smart. It's a weird paradox.
yes.
Wow, you're brave.
Get the fucking in, dude.
The potion kind of
Well,
Fuck.
the potion has a bit of a delayed effect.
to be fair, Asterix, how would he have even simulated flying through the air all to the way to the forest without a looking stage? Look, I know the Romans are love to. I know that the Romans are quite thespians, but even they've got to see through this.
Oh no! Oh, the classic sword for the between the
Pantomime,
arm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, bye then.
You need to get transferred, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom told me there would be days like this.
Actually, yeah, that's one of the running gags. The soldiers goes like, "Oh, get conscripted," they say.
Wait, wasn't that guy just killed?
So they still have to pretend.
Merely pretending.
So there you go. The entire village is gonna. Oh, there you go.
They're gonna put on a Roman play for them.
There you go. We're going to defeat them with the power of confusion.
What the fuck are you doing?
Thank you for
Is
the
that one voiced
pillow.
by Catherine Tate?
Yeah.
So this is what happened to Donna. She ended up getting back in time for some reason.
And then she later became a duck.
Well, yeah, she lost to spoilers.
It's... Oh, well, basically, Dweeb, she's apparently the new
So yeah,
voice
how
of-
do we go through this door?
You know, that's a funny thing, actually. She's the new voice of Magica Dispel.
You could just knock on the door. Could they just knock?
Oh boy. They remind me this is a French product.
Yep.
Right. I have seen French stuff before. Well, mostly British shows based on French stuff, like Fort Boyard, for example.
Oh boy.
Oh, I know how this goes. You have to whack the wheel just enough to let the prisoner go down.
Oh. Well, Anonymous, it's time for you to actually do something in your life.
Finger in cross.
Right there.
Wow, he pointed out the contradiction with a finger point.
And just like that, it then crumbles.
Phoenix Wright in if the owl hoots, someone isn't sleeping. With nothing to say, you keep
Oh,
quiet.
that's Latin. That's another thing.
Did they forget to dub that part, or did they?
No,
intentionally have it
that's
in
something that happens in every story. The Romans sometimes they actually speak in Latin for emphasizing their misery.
Did your copy not have subtitles during that Latin part, Dubs?
Not in
no,
English.
No. Mine did.
Oh, okay, because it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to have that comical effect of the Romans suddenly starting to speak Latin.
Yeah, that reminds me of one every time when we watched The Mummy Returns. My copy was the only one that had English language for when they were speaking Arabic.
Well, look at it this
So-
way: there's at least not like in Elysium, where at the end suddenly Spanish with no subtitles, so I had to translate the whole ending for us. Yeah, there is that chance.
So what you're saying, Pedro, is that Stephen Sommers was more helpful to us than Neil Blomkamp.
Are you surprised by that?
No.
Let's
Go.
Huh.
But what about your village?
Oh yeah, right. The other.
Bark, 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 bark.
So yeah, in the meantime, the droid is gonna start preparing the potion.
Yeah, with something, you know. Yeah,
Sure,
right.
sure, that works.
Yeah, sure. That's one of another thing. Getafix may be the druid of a village and he's capable of preparing potion, but he also has his quirks once in a while. Oh boy.
And considering the sequel after this is an original story called The Secret of the Magic Potion, maybe we'll get even more of that.
Well,
Oh.
yeah, from what I read on the premise, it's apparently him trying to find
Yeah.
a successor.
Basically this same team, not thanks to the success of this movie. Okay, now that we've proved we know the source material, instead of adapting another book, let's actually make an original story.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Turns out they don't have the potion, dipshits.
Yeah. Seriously. Yay!
So I guess they finally resolved their
Ah,
strike.
there's their second wind.
Well, more like dweebs in a sense, but they finally noticed the obvious.
Like I said, those mooks are a lot smarter than most mooks are. Well, we're Romans. It's an
another
everyday mauling.
Oh, right.
What, pray tell, are you all doing?
Oh,
Ladies and gentlemen, Julius Caesar himself.
Yes.
Oh no. Oof.
Welcome
least the
to
cake
your
is
new
safe.
mansion, your majesty.
Yeah, give it a few years, bud.
So Caesar, can you tell me if it was all worth?
So now they're dumping.
Yeah. Yeah, conveniently enough, this is possibly Caesar's only big mistake in all of this. Dumping the entire food, well, he didn't knew, dumping the entire food conveniently where Obelix is. What could possibly go wrong?
And by arrest the rebels, we mean jump on them. I guess that's a form of arrest.
Yeah.
Die. No, Asterix.
Yeah,
shit.
it wasn't ready.
Well, crud. It looks like it really can backfire when it's not ready. You've just been waiting to stand in the sun like that, haven't you?
Well, of course. Master strategy.
Oh yeah, about that.
How long's left of this film, by the way?
15 minutes.
15. Okay.
Yeah.
What? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Which you kind of just dumped your food in.
Oh boy.
So this is how Julius Caesar met his end. Not by being killed by one of his offspring, but by being scared to death by a fictional character.
Ugh.
That's another thing about Obelix. He will not stand it if anyone calls him fat.
Yeah.
He's big
Oh,
boned.
Very
Well,
accepted,
that and his friend being
assaulted, yeah.
Yeah.
Yay!
was this weren't the Romans still in charge of Britain at this point in fiction?
Partially, Dreams. They conquered only half of it.
The other half.
Not in
was,
this not in this continuity too. In Asterix in Britain, it's the same thing. Only one village resists still.
Yeah.
No. If I don't eat that cake, my right.
Well, yes, I saw the Avenger.
If I don't eat this cake, my right finger won't work.
And there you go, little King Kong reference of sorts, or maybe or you can also kind of say Hulk from the first Avengers movie as well,
Yeah.
considering he was climbing the building the same way Hulk was doing it in the first
Wow,
Avengers.
enough of the production team actually saw that movie.
Dwibs, Avengers is incredibly popular
I'm on
everywhere.
I thought you were on about the Incredible Hulk 2008 film.
No, the first Avengers movie.
Ah, okay.
Well, surprisingly, a lot of people did see that film.
Not enough to make a profit, though.
There you go.
Well, I wonder why. There we
There you
go.
We just have to wait till Universal finally loses the rights.
Not
So
gonna
Robbie
happen
and-
anytime soon.
It's a rather unique situation.
Yes, I saw also Lord of the Rings.
Come on, that guy. You disturb a guy just
Yes.
doing his job.
There we go. Time to spring.
And now, Golden Shower.
Oh
Reminder, this
my.
is a French product.
Again, I've seen French products. I've seen Madeline even.
Mommy, does this mean I should drink what comes out in the toilet to get super strong?
No, my dear.
Remember,
Drinking-
again,
Even drinking your own pee will
at
cause
least
you.
inexplicably has the original costume back.
Even
Sure,
the
why not?
chicken.
Oh, why not?
Even the chicken gets power.
Not just that. I love what they do with the chicken. You'll see.
Bit of an
So
eviction.
they're basically telling them, go back to Rome, you plebs.
Yeah.
And now we're playing Bach, of course.
In a cappella. Are you sure it's not Spiral Mouth?
Yeah, would that be something? Yeah, turns out the composer. The people who watch us who aren't Crash Bandicoot.
Jesus Christ, and I thought the cuckoos from Zelda were bad.
Burp.
Oh no.
I take it.
Wow.
So as this is going on,
Yes,
Jova.
please.
It was more so Jova since he's the American.
Wait,
I
oh my
take it-
God.
Oh wait, the slave became a legionnaire.
Soldiers.
Oh, never mind. So Jova, I take it Asterix is more of a cult thing over there.
I mean, plenty of Americans still know about Asterix. The problem is, like, well, it doesn't get advertised over here as much as it does in Europe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For
Well,
some
well,
reason.
well, Well, it's made in Europe, so
I know, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
oh, well, you
What
came
now,
close,
Caesar?
Caesar. You came incredibly
you
close.
you just had to make a single mistake for the entire thing to fall apart.
the Vici is always missing.
Well, snap.
Yeah.
Again, they call it Brittany, yet the subtitles call it Armorica.
No, that's because that's
what
the
it's
region.
called, Joe.
That's
It's
the
one of the northern regions of France.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder
Remember,
what
the
they base
subtitles
that
are
off from.
are set
I
to
know,
the
I
French
know.
language.
I know. I'm just wondering what Armorica is a reference to, that's all.
No, it's just the name of a region in other languages, including French.
All right, time to take down the mansion, I guess.
Aw, seems like a perfectly good waste of architecture.
Yeah, but we'd rather have our forest back. So
but what are we gonna do with the? Is it gonna be like some World Cups? He's just leaving there to
Oh,
rot
boy.
afterwards.
no, we just destroy it now.
Yes, Obelix, we know your backstory.
Sometimes that's the thing. Even though he's not allowed to ingest the potion, sometimes he just needs that extra bit.
Just a little bit.
That was fast.
Jesus.
Run for
Knock
the
him down like a
hills.
stack of dominoes. What?
He's still going.
Poor Centurion.
We are free, thanks to you. But what do we do with all the spare mortar and bricks from the?
Are you sure you guys want to go back to Rome? I mean, you kind of got treated crappily there.
It's still where they have all their the people that they know, their family, all that.
Depends on if the senator will still have him thrown to the lions, but I suppose he's not in much a position.
Aw.
Hooray!
Aw, that's almost as tearful as the goodbye in Asterix Goes to America.
There you go. Now they have at the very least free friends in Rome that know that they're not just savages.
And the entertainment.
Check this out. Check this out. You're gonna love this. Listen.
Yep.
Also, that's Roger
Hold on.
Craig's myth. As the
Yeah, I guess as punishment for failure, those three are gladiators
Hold
now.
on.
Not the good kind.
Back in training.
So what, is he going to do the people's elbow or something?
Yeah.
The what? Sorry.
But we got hurt in training. But we did get hurt in training. Then get hurt. Why do I care?
So what did he introduce him as?
Basically, the architect, the senator, and
Oh,
the centurion now are forced to become professional wrestlers
Oh
That's
by
boy.
Rome.
Holy cow!
Hey, at least
Poor
Julius
Caesar.
Caesar gets a better view.
I think the lines will get
the
full.
great leader of Rome, everyone.
Oh, look at that! Anonymous made a mosaic for us.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
nice.
just like at the end of every major story, the village celebrate with a gigantic feast for the night.
Yeah.
By the way, Tio,
Yes.
is the Colosseum still being used in Rome?
Well,
Yeah.
for tourism purposes.
Yeah, it's mostly a tourist attraction at this point. An historical.
Because maybe I was thinking that maybe like they held a concert in there or something.
I don't remember. I think occasionally, but I don't quote.
Yeah, there you go. And
Yeah,
of
as
course,
usual, the bar gets bound because they don't want him to sing.
Well, if he's such a shitty singer, then why hire him as a bard?
they didn't hire him as a bard, Dubs. He's just a citizen who happens to become a bard because he loves to sing.
There you go. That's it.
There you go. We even get
Steals
poor-
at the end.
well, apparently they managed to do fairly well as oh yeah, and
then
one
you
of
Oh,
the
the
slaves
slaves,
become
the
the pirates.
pirates, of
Pirate.
course, yeah.
Then,
Basically,
basically
in
we
the
got
comics,
the
we
origin
have-
story of a pirate.
Basically, the pirates don't actually show up in this particular story, but they're also recurring
Recurring,
characters.
yeah.
And it makes sense
Who
that the
show up.
slaves become a part of them, seeing as how they're kind of amongst the pirates' numbers in a few movies from that scene.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
Yep.
Yeah,
Is there an
Asterix and the
after
Mansion
credit
Building.
scene?
No,
No.
I don't think so. So, final thoughts. Who wants to start?
I'll
Me.
go first.
But I called it first.
Yeah, go
Whatever.
ahead, Dwibs.
Go ahead, Reeves.
Okay. I'm not. Even though I'm a European, I'm not as inclined to Asterix as well Tio and Pedro are. But you know, it's alright. It's a fun time. I think I might have liked it more if I was more familiar with the source material, but
I think the movie does a good enough job standing on its own, honestly.
I
mean,
agree.
I mean, the
it's-
Asterix, the Asterix
I won't-
comics aren't really
I won't
continuity
compare it.
heavy.
I
so-
won't compare it to. I won't say it's like a. I swear I saw a film where I couldn't really get into it because there
Well,
wasn't.
the
familiar
Tintin
with
movie.
it. Well, I meant okay, something that while it is a good film, I wasn't able to get into because I was too unfamiliar with it.
I can think of anything. Anyway, the point is, yeah, continue.
Yeah, yeah, decent movie, but well, again, if I'd have known the source material more, I probably would have enjoyed it more. But well. Next.
Go ahead,
Uh,
Trevor.
Yeah. This is a very fun movie. I'll admit the first time I saw this with you guys was ironically an original commentary that, well, got lost for reasons. I wasn't as interested in it the first time, but having been more familiarized with the series, it's enjoyable. I think I may see where Dribs is coming from. I mean, I'd say that this is a movie definitely best watched if you're more familiar with the franchise. Like, well, I mean, this is still a good entry point, but it does feel like you'll definitely get the most appreciation of, like, well, you've seen some stuff before this. Like, you get, why Caesar feels like he came this close. Or you get some of the running gags, like, why the mooks are this terrified of them having the potion or whatnot. That's not to say it's bad without seeing stuff, but I will say it's definitely for the best after you've seen other ones. Like, that's how it felt for me, because I get more of the running gags a lot better, too. That said, this is still a very wonderfully made movie. The animation is nice and sleek, very good to the ex-Pixar member there. The music is wonderful and engaging, good job to the composer there. The character voices are nice, varied, and fun, despite being all British, but that's part of the course. And, yeah, the humor is definitely pretty great. Like, again, this is definitely a good movie. It may be a bit flawed in the sense that I think its one flaw is that it relies a bit on you knowing the status quo. Like, again, not saying that, you have to be familiar with it, but, I mean, in order to get the best enjoyment, it does feel like, it's kind of running off of jokes that have been going on before. Which,
so you're saying is that it's an Asterix movie made by fans for fans?
pretty much, absolutely. And you know what? There is nothing wrong with that. Like, it's still a good entry point, and it did kind of actually encourage me to see other ones. So, it can work in that regard. And, like I said, I mean, I can't really think of a dull moment either. That's very good.
Yeah, I would actually argue. I don't know if you're familiar with. Actually, never mind. You go ahead and finish, Joe.
I'm not quite sure if I call it my favorite Asterix movie, though, but it is definitely in, well, the top 5 I've seen. Okay, but yeah, very good movie, and I recommend this whether or not you're a fan, because if you're a fan, you'll get the best enjoyment out of it. If you're a newbie, well, I think it'll be a good entry point that will encourage you to see others so that you then can get the best enjoyment out of it. Next up.
Me,
Go ahead,
like
Pedro.
for me, it's like okay. I love this movie. Again, I'm a huge fan of the source material. I've read all of the books, including even the new ones. And the new more recent books that have been coming out in recent years have been made by new authors. Like Uderzo and Garcinia is dead by this point, and Uderzo, after the complete disaster that was
The Falling Sky.
the Falling Sky, aka the Alien book,
Oh
the one
god, they actually
the
did
one-
a space one.
Yeah, an alien comes to the
Kinda.
village because
Basically, it's a
that
reverse joke,
totally
similar to
fits
the
with-
Great Kazoo in the Flintstones.
Oh wait, hold on.
what?
Yes, we know.
Ah,
the
yeah. So there technically is a bit of an after credit scene, but it's more of like a dialogue one.
Similar
Yeah.
to Hades in Hercules, but continue, Pedro.
It's like that book was so terrible that Uderzo basically retired from doing Asterix altogether.
Oh,
And
wow.
now we have new authors in charge of them, and they do a pretty decent job. However, I have to say, not as good as these guys. Like, even though this is technically an adaptation, so obviously they have it easier than making an original story. I think they do a good job in just keeping the overall spirit of the original run of the comics so well. The characterization is completely on point. The humor is witty and completely on point. It just feels like it came straight out of Uderzo and Goscinny from back in the day.
And hey, it sounds like we'll
and at the
soon
same
get to
time, they
see
threw
how
in
they. It sounds like we'll soon get to see how they have a go at trying to make their own original story
Yeah.
with this upcoming movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of like how Vicarious Visions got to show with that new Crash Bandicoot level that they made originally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like because even the new stuff that they put in this movie that wasn't in the book is just as great, and it never feels out of place. It doesn't feel tacked on. It feels it flows smoothly.
Mhm.
Like, and it's such a great job. Like the animation is great, especially for the budget that it has. Again, Spielberg, Jackson, why can't you? It's an animated property. Just make an animated film. Why mocap?
Please.
But anyway.
I
No,
mean,
I'm not
it's
getting,
quite
no, I'm not
animated.
getting over that. Anyway,
All right.
yeah, it's a fantastic movie made by fans for fans, and now that these two, Louis Clichy and Alexander Astier, have completely proven that they completely understand Asterix and know how to properly represent it in a movie. I am completely so hyped to see what they will do, because the next movie that they're making is a completely original story called Asterix and the Secret of the Magic Potion, which has never been properly told. There has been a comic where
Well,
there
a
have
lot
been
of comics,
that explain certain-
a lot of comics prop point is Getafix needing a specific ingredient to
Yeah.
spice things up with the magic potion. But this new one seems to be tackling the issue of Getafix getting old, needing to find.
or
a
maybe it's
substitute.
gonna explain how he came up with the potion to begin with.
Calling it now.
I really wonder if it's a situation like True for Square for SpongeBob, where we
Yeah.
just tease what the secret is, but we actually don't tell us.
Exactly. I'm calling it now. They're gonna pull a Krabby Patty recipe, and we're not gonna actually get it.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But
We'll see.
but I'm definitely looking forward to that, because these two have proven themselves with this adaptation, and now that they've proven themselves, they don't need to play it any stuff anymore. Now they can go full in and create an original story all their own, and just bring in everything they've done in this movie into that movie, and I'm sure it'll be just as great, if not better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely, it's a great movie. This is exactly what the Tintin movie should have been, and I'm completely looking forward to the next one coming this Christmas at the time of this recording. Go ahead, Teo. What do you think?
I mostly agree with what Pedro said. To me, this is the best way to reintroduce people to the Asterix movie. It's definitely the best animated, because I don't want to diss too much on the old animated movies, but that's the thing. A lot of them were done between the 60s and the 80s, a period where animation was not at its top if you were not a AAA budget like Disney, and now even they have tried troubles with it. So in a lot of occasions, the animation is very hit and miss in those. Here, we get a case, surprisingly, similar to, I think, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, where the 3D animation actually is for the better of the product. It looks better, it still stays true to the source material, and it just plays fantastic with the possibilities that is handled to it. And again, I am not, the mention, because it's not a lot of books that I read originally, still miss a couple of those, and this is one of them. But I really also enjoyed this story. It's, again, like I mentioned, it doesn't happen in all of them that Caesar comes this close. to reaching his actual goal. So it's very impressive as a new starting point. The only thing I can complain about was that song in the middle, but I get it. It's animation in new days, you need the pop song in the middle. So because you need to advertise for the younger crowd, but I guess it could have been worse, I suppose. We could have gone full DreamWorks or something. But aside from that, yeah, this movie is really enjoyable. It's really fun. It's not too distracting, and it's so true to the source material that it's a joy to view. I could agree that it may not be the best new entry point because it has already the status quo. And aside from the initial premise, you get a couple of references to previous books. But it's the thing, Asterix the Gaul was already made in 1967. So I guess the new studio wanted to make a new movie, was starting point, but also a new movie instead of just remaking a previous one. So I guess that's what the thought process behind it. But I don't blame it. I do think that the end result came well. So, well, for me, and like Pedro said, I'm really interested to see what we're going to do now. I'm just sad that it took this long to get the next movie, but it's coming, and hopefully for the best. So, see you for that.
You cannot rush genius.
I suppose. See you for that when we'll came to that, or if we'll get the other animated Asterix movie, and yes, even the live action one eventually.
Yeah.
So
Neat.
see you for those.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Then.